Hello and welcome back to another episode of Golf Parenting 101. I'm your host, Owen Baker, and in this episode we delve into the mental side of golf for the first time on the podcast. My guest, Allan Rimmell from Conscious Sports, will give us a look into what an elite golfer should be working on and doing mentally to perform at their best. Allan, welcome to Golf Parenting 101.
Thank you so much, Owen. It's a pleasure to be here.
Allan, share with us how you first became involved in the golf world.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Owen. Yeah, it's quite a beautiful story, in my opinion, at least. For me, it's come quite full circle. So I'm going to take you literally from the start. When I finished university, I went to varsity, ended up doing my BSc in geology and geography. And as it so happens, I've never actually used either of those, that degree ultimately. So when I went to varsity, there was one thing that I knew. I knew that I didn't want to end up in an office, behind a computer. And ultimately, that's where I ended up. Just as life turned out, I ended up working for a large corporation in South Africa that just paid me too much money to leave. So there I was working in an environment that ultimately, in my heart, I didn't really want to be in. But, along the way, my passion, what I really found interest in, was the mind. I read a book by Eckhart Tolle, and in it he said, "We cannot stop thinking." And I found that quite surprising at the age of 25, finding out that I can't stop thinking. So basically, following the process in the book, while I was at corporate, putting my time into learning how to master the mind whilst working, eventually I ended up at a lecture by Professor Tim Noakes. And in that lecture, he said it's scientifically proven that if a golfer is thinking of something when they hit their shot, the shot doesn't go as intended. And when I heard him say that, I was like, wow, okay, well, I can do that. I can teach that to people. So I left corporate and I started Conscious Sports and ended up in an environment with trees and beautiful surroundings, walking on a golf course. So, I love the way life works. That here, leaving school, I didn't want to end up in an office, and here I am, I'm not working in an office. So here I am, started Conscious Sports, and for the last 10 years, we could say, I've been looking at the sporting world, teaching how to be the master of one's mind to gain a level of improvement, of focus, and ultimately performance over the competitors. I started with a golfer 10 years ago, one golfer, and branched out into various other sporting fields from there, looking at endurance running, athletics, and ultimately for me, endurance running was quite a massive one. The guys literally started breaking their personal best that had stood for years within quite a short period of time. But unfortunately, there's ultimately no money in running, so I couldn't support my family. And about 5 years ago, I really took on the golfing world. Golfers know that they cannot be thinking when they are trying to hit the ball. So many times over a putt or wherever it is in the game of golf, the thinking mind comes in and takes away. So I focused my business primarily on golf for the last 5 years, and it really has taken off beautifully. So
yeah, it's fantastic. And tell us, how have things been going?
Yeah, look, ultimately what I teach can have immediate success in terms of people being able to regulate their emotions a lot better, getting into a level of focus a lot better. So there are quick hits, but ultimately it takes time. It takes time to master the mind. So in the last year or two, there have been a lot of successes. Ultimately what I offer is a 12-week course. It's a standalone course that teaches the methodology and the philosophy on how to be the master of one's mind. So there are clients that can come and they can do that 12 weeks and they go ahead and they do their own thing thereafter. Or there are guys that will stick with me for a good few years. So just to name a couple of the guys that I have coached over the last few years, I think last year the Big Easy Order of Merit was won by Gerard Pepler. So I've been with him for a good few years, about 4.5 going on 5 years now. Stefan West-Taylor also got his card and a good few wins in the last while. Yeah, if we look at all of his wins, definitely, but Sunshine Tour in the last year. Kyle Barker did a good 2.5 years. Keegan McLachlan won the Bushveld Order of Merit last year. He also did a good few years with me as well. So for me, it's all about teaching the guys how to be the master of their mind and be present throughout the course of the day. And once they've got that, it's up to them what they would like to do. Some guys decide to stick around, some guys will go on and carry on in their own accord.
Yeah, it sounds like you're getting some good success and it's growing. I'll often hear sports psychologists talk about mindfulness and living in the now, and this seems to be the cornerstone in many self-improvement strategies across various disciplines, not just golf. Is there a difference between mindfulness and meditation?
Um, Meditation is simply a formal process of sitting down in a specific space to learn that mindfulness, how to be present in a controlled environment. Whereas mindfulness is simply continuing that for the rest of the day. In my world, mindfulness is meditation throughout the day with our eyes open, which is what I teach my guys to do. Apologies, my cat is trying to knock things over here. But so for me, it's imperative that we get into the space of living in the now. So I don't teach my guys how to just be focused on a golf course. I teach them how to be focused in life, through the philosophy that we need to be able to walk onto a golf course as if we've just walked off one. Life is one big game of golf ultimately. And if we can really be focused from the time we wake up to the time we go to sleep, it will knock on and improve our game of golf, or ultimately any sport, or ultimately anything that we're actually interested in doing.
I recently had a chat with a student of mine, and he's a phenomenal ball striker and he has a really decent short game, but struggles to post good scores in tournaments. When it comes to staying focused and mentally strong, his mind often wanders during a round, like getting caught up in thinking about his score or thinking 2 holes ahead to a difficult par 4 or whatever. He's aware that it's messing with his performance, and he's heard about how Tiger Woods used meditation as a tool for improving his mental game, and he's wondering now how he can do the same. What would be the potential benefits meditation can bring to a golfer?
Well, the benefits are that he won't get as lost in thinking while he's out there. He'll be more focused throughout the course of the round, as well as management of emotions. If we jump into the future of potentially winning, that's one of the quickest ways to lose if we are in a space of winning. If we think about losing, it's one of the quickest ways of losing ultimately. So we need to be the master of that mind to be able to manage those emotions, and like I say, any kind of those moments where we lose the focus. Yesterday I was also chatting to a client of mine, and he said, Al, I was almost perfect throughout the entire round, but for 3 shots. 3 shots, I just went out of focus, and there's my double bogey right there. And I could feel it afterwards. So the guys know when they get out of focus, they just simply can't really do anything about it. But through meditation and through the practice of mindfulness, it becomes easier. I mean, if we think of a person who has never run in their life, and they would like to run a marathon, they need to get up and start practicing that and get out there and run for a kilometer a day to start off with, and bump it up to 2 kilometers, and eventually build it up to the point where they can run a marathon. And I think anybody who is physically capable without some sort of major injury can go ahead and do that, run a marathon. And the same thing happens with focus. The longer we can practice meditation, the more we can bring it into our day, the more we can run that mental marathon of a 4.5 hour game of golf.
And then what would you do if a golfer, one of your golfers preparing for an important tournament, and the pressure that comes with this event is causing them so much stress and anxiety to the extent that it's just not fun? How can meditation be used to manage his or her stress levels from anxiety?
I've actually had so many clients that start off with me on anti-anxiety meditation. So they're taking pills every day, and what I say to them is meditation is the natural pill for anxiety. Literally within 2 weeks to a month of starting the course, there is no anxiety, because anxiety is simply created by an overactive mind thinking into the future, looking at what they can't control. It's not possible to ever control tomorrow or any kind of future from the here and now, but the mind believes that it can do that. And as we get stuck in the future of trying to control it, we bring back this stress and anxiety. As soon as a person is able to connect to the now and drop those thoughts, they don't experience anxiety anymore. It's as simple as that.
So how can I use meditation to be more present in the moment?
By doing it. If you simply do it, it will translate into being more present in the moment. It's like I said, if you run every day, you will simply get more physically fit. If you meditate every day, you'll become more mentally fit.
So from your experience, can you tell me some of the challenges that golfers might face when starting to learn and practice meditation? Also, do you have any tips or advice on how to overcome these difficulties?
Sure. Look, meditation itself is not difficult to understand. The philosophy, what we're doing in a meditation, is actually quite simple. What makes it difficult is the mind will resist it. The mind hates meditation. The thinking mind is what we're looking to ultimately be in control of in a meditation, and it will resist. In fact, when we get to the longer meditations, I like to take my clients up to an hour meditation. The last 15 minutes of an hour meditation, the mind can literally be screaming at us. Get up, you're full of shit, this is ridiculous, I'm in pain. And that's the level of stressful thinking that will come up when we over a putt, the final putt to win a tournament ultimately. So if we can master those stressful thoughts in the last 15 minutes of an hour meditation, it really pulls through onto the golf course. So commitment and dedication, discipline, that's what somebody needs to meditate, because we need to do it continuously. It is a practice. So if we stop doing it, the benefits will start to fade away ultimately. So my recommendation is that you take a look at what time you have. Start off small, 5 minutes a day. Don't start off with more than 5 minutes a day. You might end up like a person who goes and runs 10Ks and has never run 10Ks, you end up vomiting afterwards. You try and meditate for too long, it'll be the same experience ultimately. And then you won't want to get back into it. The subconscious brain will resist it massively going forward. So those are a couple of things, but also somebody like me is really helpful to have around. I hold my clients accountable, and I meditate with a lot of them every day. So having somebody like me around to give guided meditations, to hold them accountable, really helps with it. Combined with that, something that I've developed over the course of the last, I'd say 5 years, I found out that a lot of the guys that I was coaching didn't really have structure to their day. And I honestly thought that they would go see a swing coach or a technical coach and they would get everything, the plan of action or what they need to do from 8 a.m. in the morning till the time they go to sleep ultimately. But I found that ultimately wasn't the case, not with everybody. So the guys were simply going out there and doing whatever it is that they felt like doing on the day. And for me it was like, well, are we getting any kind of growth? Are we getting any kind of movement forward? So I developed a tool to start primarily measuring what I teach, the mental side of things, but it's developed into an entire golf management system now where we track everything the guys do. So having something like that measures and shows you your progress over the course of time, where you can see, okay, I've meditated from last week now up until this week, I've got 7 days in a row, fantastic. Let me keep that 7 days going and get a string of meditation going. So that for me is the biggest issue, is just ultimately not doing it, falling out of doing it.
What advice would you give to young golfers struggling with their mental game? I think one of the biggest issues I see with young golfers is getting so angry when they hit bad shots and failing to get themselves back to a level of calmness.
Okay, so our emotions will take away from playing golf, unfortunately. We need to play golf in a space of, in my world, peace and flow. So firstly, where do our emotions come from? You know, when I was also 25 years old reading Eckhart Tolle's Power of Now, he said that our thoughts create our emotions. And I was like, wow, how did I get to be 25 years old and nobody taught me that? I always blamed the teacher that was shouting at me, or my parents, or the person who cut me off in traffic. That's the reason I'm angry. Actually, no, it's not the reason I'm angry. The reason I'm angry is because I'm resisting or I'm reacting in my head in thinking. So when I read The Power of Now and I put those two things together that he taught, that way, A, humans can't stop thinking, and B, that our thoughts create our emotions, it was kind of like, well, that's just not acceptable for me. Because if I don't control my thinking, if I can't stop my thinking mind, my thoughts are going to create my emotions, and how I feel is always going to be dependent on an uncontrolled mind. There's a saying that, what is it? The mind is a fantastic servant, but a terrible master. And if we can become the master of our mind, then we use it as a servant, and we get a lot more accomplished ultimately. So yeah, the meditation is for me the biggest key to getting this done.
Parents often have a valid concern about their kids because as they grow older and improve, the game becomes more competitive and more stressful. So what's your take on how parents can help their young golfers maintain a healthy balance in their relationship with golf?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I think the kid needs to be having fun. You know, they really need to enjoy what they're doing. If the parents are shouting at the kid and it's becoming a battle to get them to do what they should be doing every day when it comes to playing golf, then it becomes an issue. Should the child be playing golf? It needs to come from them ultimately. They need to be passionate about it. But at the same time, I think if we have like a really good system in place, a good schedule in place to show the child what it is they need to be doing every day from the time they wake up to the time they go to sleep, they can fall into that schedule and it'll get done a lot easier and there'll be a lot less resistance. So that coupled with then the meditation, it really helps manage emotions. The guys that I've coached can move from a space of really not enjoying golf. There's a guy I started working with about 2.5 weeks ago, and he said to me, Al, I'm putting in all of this effort. I'm practicing immense amounts of hours every day, but the results just are not there, and I'm getting frustrated. I walk off the golf course and I'm depressed. Within 2 weeks, he's playing well. He's made the cut to the Big Easy for the first time in a while, and he said to me, I'm loving golf. I'm enjoying it. It's fun out there. So that for me is the key. Make it fun for the kids. Have a balance where they can enjoy things outside of golf as well. But yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, in today's world, with so much information available, YouTube and social media and stuff, there's so much stuff that I see on YouTube with regards to golf coaching and tips on the golf swing and stuff like that. And there's a lot of great information, but there's also a lot of information that really isn't correct and can do more damage than good. How can young golfers maintain focus and avoid distractions in today's world?
It's a challenging one with social media and a phone and PlayStation. I think those things are the biggest ones. And once again, I think it's boundaries. Setting that schedule, this is the time that you have with your phone throughout the course of the day. If we let our children get distracted with social media, and like I say, specifically video games as well, it can really take a toll on what they need to do sleep-wise. Sleep is so important. And I think so many guys it's one of the biggest issues I find when I start working with a client, is that they're not sleeping properly. And why they're not sleeping properly? Hell, I had a client that said to me, when I wake up in the morning, my phone is on my chest and the YouTube videos are still playing. So he's falling asleep on watching YouTube or on Instagram, and that really doesn't do justice to waking up in a space of focus to deal with the next day. So yeah, distractions of that nature, and like I said, the schedule. Getting discipline in a formal kind of way will help with any kind of distractions.
In your experience as a mind coach, what are some of the most important mental preparation techniques that golfers can use to get into the right mindset for a tournament? Can you suggest any specific routines or techniques that can help them handle any pressure and stay focused during the round?
Okay, that's my entire course. That's exactly what I do. I mean, it's all tailored around getting the person to live ultimately in a state of flow, connected to the now, so that when they get up in the morning, they're already there. They're already mentally prepared by the previous 6 months of work that they've done for that tournament. So we live it ultimately. I don't think there are any little tricks. Yes, I like to get my guys to meditate when they wake up, and I like to have them to have a little refresher meditation between their range and their chipping, or between their chipping and their putting. But all the work is done beforehand, ultimately. The meditation combined with, I teach juggling as well. So for me, juggling is a way to teach mental stillness in action. So if you think about a meditation as a focused space in stillness where we connect to a calm mind, where juggling, I teach get up to 4-ball juggling, and we can't juggle 4 balls and get lost in thinking at the same time. So they're all tailored around getting my clients into the best mental space possible when they actually tee off.
That's interesting, and Allan, it's a fascinating topic. You've given us some great information and great insights. But I have a final question for you before we finish. What do you expect the role of meditation? What do you expect the role of meditation will have in golf in the future?
Personally, I believe it's just going to take over golf. I think everybody's starting to wake up to the fact that meditation isn't some form of anti-religion. Doesn't take away from Christianity in any way, shape or form. It actually adds to our ability to experience God and to practice our beliefs. So I think it is definitely making inroads. If I take a look at when I started reading and researching and learning what I'm teaching now, 20 years ago, this information wasn't really available and widely accessible in South Africa. But it is exploding now. So I think their minds are opening to it, and I believe it is an absolute essential in the golfing world going forward. Anybody who meditates will have an upper hand compared to those that don't.
Thank you so much for taking the time to join us on Golf Parenting 101. How can parents of young golfers connect with you?
Facebook. If you go to Facebook and you check out Conscious Sports, all my results, or most of my results, are there. Pop me a message. I'll contact you back within a couple of hours. Okay,
great stuff. Allan, I wish you all the best going forward. I wish you more success. You're really the information you've given us. It makes so much sense, and it's such an important part of the game, the mental side. I think a lot of it is underestimated. I know for a fact you can go watch a golf tournament, you can see the guys standing on the driving range and they all hit the ball straight and they all hit it far, but it's just the guys that are thinking differently when they're on the course. Those are the guys that excel and really reach the pinnacle of golf. So thank you for your time again, and we'll definitely be chatting to you soon.
100%. Thank you so much for your time, Owen, as well. Have a great day.